It has come to my understanding that I have come across a book that I've been reading, and it seemed interesting considering that it's not tied to the Bible, it's not in the Bible, but it supposedly has a connection to the Bible, and I'm going to break down what is this book of Enoch and why is it not in the Bible. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Jewish apocalyptical text attributed to the Bible, and Enoch is willed the great grandfather of Noah. Now consider this. The Book of Enoch, or the Scroll of Enoch, was not actually all made at once. It's actually made separate, considering that Enoch wasn't really the author of his own book called Enoch. There is 3 sections to the Book of Enoch: Enoch 1, Enoch 2, and Enoch 3, which was well scriptured and written by different authors roughly around 350 BC. As we know with the Book of Enoch, the Enoch was written around the same time as others was writing the Old Testament in the Bible. But why did the Book of Enoch not make it in the Old Testament of the Bible? The Book of Enoch never made it to the Bible because it was told that the person Enoch who lived before the Great Flood. However, everything has changed when we are viewed and told by religion Christian people and scholars who, when they read the Book of Enoch, they found out that how could Enoch have been before the Great Flood when we are getting note of mentioning of names in the Book of Enoch right during the Second Temple, because the author had famous historical names in the Book of Enoch, which is weird, having historical great famous names in the Second Temple and then saying, well, Enoch lived before the Great Flood, meaning the timeline for this book wasn't matching well, which also comes to its bad side of why would it be in the Bible when it was mistaken its timeline, especially when it was written by different authors and not Enoch, or told by Enoch himself. And I understand what multiple people are going to be saying. Hold on, that doesn't make sense. If all of this is false, then what about Genesis 5:21-24, when we're told that Enoch, who walked with God, was taken to heaven? And I understand that part. And I actually want to go through that really deeply about this part right here, that we have Enoch, who is the son of Jared, who is also the Enoch that we're talking about specifically. Then we have Enoch, son of Cain. Then we have a city named Enoch, and we have another, which, well, we have others in different translations known as Hanok. And Hanok, if I am correct, is the Jewish or Hebrew translation to Enoch. Now, what is the problem with this that we're told is Enoch was taken up in heaven by God? And this is told not in the Book of Enoch, but in Genesis, which is in the Old Testament of the Bible. However, the one problem that we have with this is when people wrote the Book of Enoch, they said, yes, Enoch was taken in heaven. However, it comes down to that same problem. It was written by different authors and a different timeline that did not match anywhere to what Enoch was talking about, saying, I was before the Great Flood, but I have names in the Book of Enoch that were after the Great Flood that were famous Christian names at the time that did not exist whatsoever. Now, it all comes down to, what does the Book of Enoch even talk about? Like, what is it even about? What is its role? The role of the Book of Enoch is it talks about the myth and heels, talks about how the angels saw women with lust and decided to breed them, which considered it making giants. And it talks about the apocalypse, which ties around Revelation. Now, this book actually was in the Bible, but it was in the Ethiopia Bible, which is the first Bible ever made. Later on in time, fast forwarding, the father of the churches, well, they found it strange having 15 books. Yes, I said 15 books, not just the Book of Enoch, but 15 books in the Bible that had no author and no specific person who wrote the books, which are the 15 books in the Ethiopian Bible. So when they decided to make the King James Bible, which was the translation for the Ethiopia Bible, they decided to kick out Enoch alongside 15 different books. That's a very, very huge amount of books that were taken out. 15. That's a huge amount of numbers. But they were taken out due to not having an author, or because they had multiple authors and it just felt like you were contradicting the entire Bible, whether that's the Old Testament or the New Testament. And keep in mind, I think I said this, but the Ethiopian Bible was written as the first Bible to be made after the resurrection of Jesus Christ, when he died and bled on the cross for our sins. All right, now to tie this book of Enoch back to its place. And it comes back to the question, what is the book of Enoch? Why is it not in the Bible? And it comes down to due to this 2 reasons. Well, not actually 2 reasons, but it comes down to these reasons. The book of Enoch was kicked out of the Bible, number 1, for not having an actual author, but instead having multiple authors. And number 2, because its timeline for what it said in the book of Enoch is so incorrect. And most importantly, of all of the other things, right, we don't actually know if this is true or not, or if it's reliable or not. Does it contradict the Bible? Does it align with the Bible? And if so, why would it have multiple authors? And so it's safe to say that no one wanted to deal with the book being in the Bible, which is considered the truth, and then have a book of Enoch that might contradict everything. And despite it talking about the angels, the giants, the apocalypse tied around Revelation, it just wasn't fit to be in the Bible, considering that it had multiple different authors and it was not written exactly by the man named Enoch. And so, is the book of Enoch reliable to read? The answer might be no. Is it a book to read and look more deep into? Yes. But is it a book you want to be and read and trust? Probably not. Like and subscribe, hit that follow button so I could keep making content like this. And if you have any advice or any things that you want to say so I could take in considering about this book of Enoch, tell me in the comment section below. Peace.